Hey, how's it going, beautiful people? So today we're going to be talking about 5 things. Number 1, a hobby that I lost the love for temporarily. Number 2 is, as a society, are we becoming more self-sufficient or lonely? And then 3, cheap versus quality when it comes to buying materialistic possessions. Which is better, especially for the long run or the short term? And number 4 is my little tip for better sleep. If you're anything like me and you're a sensitive sleeper, this might help you. And lastly, I wanted to just sprinkle a little bit of advice, just like Salt Bae after a nice medium well piece of steak. Speaking of medium well steaks, I went to Texas Roadhouse and I went to Outback Steakhouse in the same week, and I ordered medium well, which is my preference because I don't like to see the steak still spitting out blood everywhere, and I don't like it when it's burnt because it's super chewy and not juicy. So medium well for me has been the go-to for a while, and it's slightly pink in the center, and most places that I go to, it comes out pretty good. But for some weird reason, my luck was just bad because both times, I asked for medium well and it came out burnt as all heck. Well done. And it was so chewy that my jaw was sore afterwards, and I kept thinking, man, and I don't know, man, I'm not the type of person to complain to the server and be take it back, or can you do this again, or I asked for this and you gave me that. And I need to change that about myself, because I feel as if you are a paying customer, and in the United States, it's not mandatory, but it's almost a requirement that you have to tip. So if I'm gonna be paying tip on top of my meal, it should probably be cooked the way that I want, right? So that's something that I need to work on. But anyways, let's jump right into it. So talking about the hobby, right? It's football. I'm a huge football fan. There was one point in my life where I legitimately thought that as a small little Asian dude, I had a small sliver of chance to get into the NFL. Every young boy has that ambition or dream or idea at one point or another if you play the sport. Been a huge fan all my life, and which is interesting because although I liked the sport, I was never really into the NFL. I was more into where I was at the moment. So if I was in the youth league, I was more interested in the youth league football, or in high school football, or in college football. But I never really got into the NFL until maybe 5 years ago. There's this player, his name is Tim Tebow. That name might even be familiar because he's all over the place the past few years doing all sorts of different media stuff. And I'm not even sure if there's anyone who's watching this that even likes football, or if you know what it is, right? The NFL. But if you do, hey, we have something in common, like a virtual high five. The football in the United States is one of the more popular sports that people like. I would say it's up there with basketball, and I can't even say baseball. They used to say oh, baseball is America's favorite pastime. It's who the hell likes baseball? Maybe I'm biased because I always thought it was boring and I never actually went to a baseball game. I think it's just too slow paced for me. I'm into that action impact where two ripped dudes are hugging each other, like MMA and stuff. So maybe my style is a little off, but yeah, football is very popular. The equivalent is if you go to Europe, it's soccer. Or I guess you guys call it football, but in the United States, we call our football. So it's what you want. What you trying to say, right? I know Asia too, y'all really like soccer and cricket, or is that only South Asia? But I know if you look at the Pacific Islands and Australia, y'all are really into rugby. So you kind of think of it like that. Really popular here. So getting back on track, Tim Tebow, I'm a huge fan of this guy, right? His character and what he's all about. He's just a really good representation of what it means to be an athlete and to be in the public limelight. I actually had a chance to meet him one time, but I didn't make the cut. I was a finalist for this TV show 3 years ago when I was trying to do acting and all of that, but I did not make the cut, and he was on the show as well. So but it would have been really cool to shake his hand. But anyways, he signed a deal very recently with the Jacksonville Jaguars to be a tight end, which is a blend, a hybrid between being an offensive lineman, the big guys who protect the quarterback, and being a wide receiver, which are the guys who catch the ball in the air and do the touchdown celebrations. Kind of a hybrid of a little bit of both worlds. And he's going to be playing for his former college coach, Urban Meyer, when he played at Florida, which is really interesting because if you know his story, he was homeschooled. And so he participated in his local high school football team, but he wasn't actually at that high school. He was a homeschooled kid. He played at University of Florida, and he even won the Heisman. Now, off of my memory, I'm not sure if he won it his freshman year, but he definitely won it his sophomore or junior year. And the Heisman Award is like an award that's given to like the best college football player in the nation. And this story is more remarkable because he's not a young dude. He's in his 30s. Like Tim Tebow's in his 30s. He's not like some 20-year-old or 21-year-old. Like some people even say like once you get past 27, 28, and especially in the NFL, you're past your prime. This dude is in his 30s and he's bouncing back into the NFL. Because coming out of college, he had a short stint in the NFL, but then things just didn't work out and he ended up going to the Major League Baseball, but minor leagues, right? So he was playing baseball for the past few years while waiting for his chance to get back into the NFL, and his opportunity has come. So I'm like super excited. I'm like getting back into it. And this is even more crucial to the story because the NFL is a hobby that is pretty up there in my life, right? But this past year, especially in 2020 with the pandemic and everything, I was so stressed out, right? That I didn't even follow the season nor the games. Like I don't even know who won the Super Bowl. I think whatever team that Tom Brady was on, they probably won. Like if I had to put my money on it, and I think he did. Anyways, I'll have to Google that right after this. So the idea that I'm trying to propose to you is that you cannot neglect your hobbies, people. If you're into something, right, you gotta make time to do what makes you happy. Here and there. I'm not saying you gotta allocate an entire day or an entire weekend, but like if you can even devote 30 minutes, right? Like that's better than nothing. For me, in 2020, I didn't even give the NFL 20 minutes, 30 minutes. My priorities were all out of whack. So if you're into tickling your butthole with a synthetic feather that you bought off of Amazon, do it, but do it in moderation, right? Or if you like chugging bottles of sriracha sauce, the hot sauce with the little rooster in front, do your thing. On the topic of sriracha sauce, I don't know if I'm weak, I don't know if I'm just not a true Asian, but I think low-key that sriracha sauce is super spicy. Like it's good for the first bite, but and by the way, sriracha sauce is so good on everything, on hamburgers, on ramen, on tacos. For anything breakfast related, scrambled eggs is super good. But it's so spicy. Like I think sriracha sauce is underrated. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you gotta check it out. Alright, sriracha sauce. Alright, so moving on to the next topic. Are Americans becoming more self-sufficient? Or are we just becoming lonely or just giving up on friendships altogether? So there was a study in 2019 that found that the average American hasn't made a new friend in over 5 years. And 45% of the same people said that it's just really difficult to make friends in general, right? And what makes this more significant is that this study was conducted in 2019, right before the lockdown, the pandemic, and everything happened. So if it was that severe right before the pandemic, I can only imagine how much more intensified it has become. If they were to do this study again, I bet instead of 45%, we'd probably see like a 65% saying like, yo, it's actually pretty hard because I'm at home all the time, or etc. So I'm like really curious because when I look at the YouTube analytics, right, not everyone who watches this channel is from the US. Like you would think because I speak English with a weird accent, some people think like I'm from California, some people think I am this and that. I just lived all over the place, so it's a weird blend. But, off of face value, you would think like most of the viewers of this channel would be American. But that's not the facts. Like, there's a lot of people from Europe, a lot of people from Asia, a couple people from Africa, and the list goes on and on. So I'm just curious, like, what about your country and where you're from? Like, do you see this to be true, like this trend of like making friendships harder? Because I know for a fact, based on my personal experience, like being in the military, when I went to Europe and Asia and everything, that Europeans are super welcoming and friendly, and it's also true in Asia. So, I don't know. But I would love to hear about your experience, because like, here I am sitting in my room, talking to myself, looking like a crazy guy. So let's just pretend like this is a conversation so that I don't feel as weird. So here's my take, my commentary about this study, right? So when we think about like with the pandemic and like individuals with their immune systems that are compromised, I just feel like in-person events right now, or like community gatherings, are even less common, right? I know it's still happening, but well, you know, thinking optimistically, I think in about maybe 6 or so more months, we might return back to how things were to a certain extent. I do think like wearing masks will still be common. People will be hand sanitizing more often, but I don't think it'll be as crazy as it is right now, because I think the last time that I don't like watching the news because it's always filled with like fear stories or things that just make you sad, right? So I try to avoid the news when possible, but I do keep up with like the financial markets and how companies are doing and interesting things like that. But in general, like I try not to keep up with the headliners or whatever. But anyways, the last time that I heard, like when it comes to the U.S., I'm sure once the supply chain gets figured out, the vaccine will be more distributed around the world, and I hope that is the case and it happens sooner. But around 50% of Americans are vaccinated so far, so I think that's pretty good, which gives me hope that in the future things will be okay again. Because like in Asia, like when I lived in Korea and Japan specifically, like wearing masks was normal. Like that's what you do out of courtesy, because like if your nose is running and you've got like mucus running into your mouth, or like you're coughing, you put on a mask because you care about the people around you and you don't want to get them sick. Like it's normal, right? But in the US, like the masks were only seen as a thing where like people in a healthcare setting wear, or like if you're trying to rob something. But I'm just glad that we're opening up to the idea that like masks aren't such a bad thing. And so going back on to the topic of like the friendship and everything, relationships, let me just change this up. I started to do something different. Like instead of just talking to the camera in a dead silent room, I decided that I wanted to put on earphones with music, because it kind of keeps me upbeat and like as if I'm talking to someone, right? Because I hear lyrics, but the song that just came out right now is not on point. So I do have to change it real quick. And speaking of like, do you see how this one's all chewed up? My dog Bernie got a hold of it and he like chewed it all up. Like music, oh my gosh, I could make a video for like 60 minutes talking about music and the phases that I went through. And maybe I should one day, right? That would be a cool video topic of how like I went from emo punk music to like heavy metal to trance, EDM to hip hop, whatever. So in my own perspective, let me get some water. I feel like my throat is getting husky. Does it sound sexy and like a jazz singer? I probably sound more like a chain smoker who's like doing 30 cigarettes a day. But I think that this trend is going to keep increasing, because it's going to get to a point where making friends is going to be a talent or even a skill. Because I just feel like in the past, right, relationships were nurtured in person, whereas these days it's a lot more digitalized. If you know what I'm talking about, like most of us with our current friends that are in our circle or in our life, like we probably don't reach out to them, but we keep up with them by following their feed or their Instagram story or whatnot, instead of saying like, yo, what's up? I'm still old-fashioned, so I still reach out to my buddies here and there, but that's just me. So, and I wrote down here, yeah, there are Zoom rooms, and Zoom is like a video conferencing platform where like 30, 60, 80 people can join and have their cameras on, where half of the people will be wearing a shirt and the other half will not even have pants on. I do have pants on, okay? Get your mind out of the gutter. But I just feel like Zoom rooms will never replace the intimacy and like the bond that you actually get from being in person. But funny enough, because of the pandemic, like of course gatherings were not allowed, right? So that's where like YouTube live streaming and Twitch streaming has been changing the name of the game, especially for me. Like that's where I have been hanging out because I'm a very social person, extroverted. I need that interaction with other human lives. And on that note, I am 100% going to resume the Twitch live streams and hangout sessions soon. And I kept holding off on it because the computer that I had was on its last leg. I hate it so much. Like, I know people who, when they get a laptop, it lasts them like 8 years, 7 years. But for me, because I use my computers as a daily driver and heavily, we're talking about like gaming, video editing, surfing the web, and everything as a content creator, my laptops and computers, the lifespan is so much shorter. I'm talking about 3 years, sometimes 4 years. But this current computer that I have is 3.5 years and it's literally dying. And so I had to order a new laptop and it finally just got here in the mail. So once I set it up, we're gonna be good to go, my people. We're gonna be having Twitch live streams, and it's gonna be fun because now that my equipment is upgraded, it's gonna be cool. So go ahead and follow the Twitch. I mean, the link's gonna be down below, and you should please join because I think right now we have like 5 followers. But I'm not disheartened because 5 is better than 0, and even this channel, right? It's a small reflection of its glory days, but it's still better than 0. If I ever get to a point where I'm getting 0, then I know it's time to toss in the towel. I lost my touch and I shouldn't be doing this anymore. Me personally. Other people, even if you get 0 or 1 views, keep doing it if it makes you happy. But for me, I feel like a little bit of my satisfaction as a content creator is tied with the results of like, whoa, 100 people clicked like on this video. Like, that's badass. Like, it shouldn't be like that, but for me it is, and it's sad. And the reason why, maybe this is out of order, maybe I should have said this first. By the way, one person called me out on like, yo, the background music is too loud. So I'm thinking like, maybe this is a note for myself when I'm editing. Do you think with this type of video, should I have like some ambient music in the background, or should it just be me talking? Let me know. So another reason why I think this trend is going to keep continuing is, in general, as a society, like in the US, not in Europe, okay? Asians, y'all be able to relate to us on this, but Americans were overworked like crazy, right? Like, it's not unusual for like most of my peers that I graduated from business school with. We're gonna be working 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week, and that's considered normal, and I hate that. Why do we have to accept that as a reality to just be the standard? I hate it, but whatever. And so when you're working that much, I just feel as if there's no time to make friends after all of our different priorities in our lives, right? Because once you get off work, you also have to live, right? So that includes like grocery shopping, running errands, taking showers. I hope people are taking showers, but when you do all of that and meal prepping and everything, there's just not much time left. And so once you get like that glorious 45 minutes at the end of the night, like, we grab a tub of Ben & Jerry and we watch another episode of our favorite Netflix show, which right now I've been binge watching Cobra Kai, which is like 40 years later of Karate Kid. It's been really good, but I don't know, maybe that's just me and I'm just projecting what I do onto y'all, but I don't know, I just feel like life would be so much better if we worked like 3 or 4 days a week and we had 3 or 4 day weekends, so that life is a lot more balanced rather than working 5 to 6 days a week and having 1 day off. And it's just like, do you really have a day off? Because on your day off, you got to take your car to the shop, you got to go to the clinic to get an health inspection, you got to do grocery shopping. So it's like, damn, bro. Well, all that to say, like, life is hard, and I can resonate with anyone out there who's stressed the hell out, or is juggling multiple jobs, or is feeling overwhelmed about putting food on the table and taking care of your family. I feel you. So like, this is also really important to know. I think like making like genuine friendships is gonna be harder, but it's also weird because we have stuff like Instagram, TikTok, WhatsApp, and meeting people, like actually meeting people, is easier than ever, right? But making those genuine connections is, I think, a lot more challenging than ever. And on a side note, I actually know successful Tinderella marriage stories. Yeah, which is interesting because like even 10 years ago, you would never have thought to get married to someone that you meet off an app or you met off of a website. So, and on that note, I guess I just wanted to do a pulse check with you and just ask you, right? I love when people like respond to these videos with comments because it feels like it's not an echo chamber. I'm not just talking to myself, or it's just not somebody who's just watching 20 seconds and clicking off, but it's like somebody's watching like, bro, I feel you, or like, dude, I know what you're talking about. And like, so please, like, I encourage you, I don't get any views anymore, so if you leave a comment, I'll see it. This is like my way of saying like, yo, I'm lonely, I don't have much friends, so if you leave a comment, like, that's kind of like my way of interacting and makes me feel better. Damn, this is like a therapy session, but how do you feel? Like, are you lonely these days? Like, how many friends do you have? Like, I'd love to hear your perspective. Like, I just aired out my dirty clothes, right? I'm pretty lonely, so. And on that note of like Tinderella success stories, like I can't even imagine how challenging or annoying the dating scene must be, especially during the pandemic or even after, because like, dating is more so at the palm of our hands now, and we can just be so superficial, and you can just swipe right on somebody, right? Be like, I don't like the way that their nose looks. I don't like their eyes. Yo, he's got small eyes. I don't trust people with small eyes. You can just swipe left or right, whatever it is. So I guess my advice to you is like, if need be, date yourself for a while, you know, until things improve or until things get better. So treat yourself to a workout session, right? Like take yourself to the gym. Get that matcha soft cone. Yo, a green tea flavored anything is so good. Kit Kats, ice cream. Okay, don't even get me started on that. So just treat yourself, right? And date yourself. But here's the catch. Just think twice before getting that cute face tattoo that you've been eyeing on your Pinterest account. You know, you have it saved, you've been looking at it, like, should I do it, should I not? Just think twice. But hey, I will say this, I'm not judging if you go through with it though. Just be careful, right? Some people think like date yourself or treat yourself means go wild and go YOLO and do regretful things. I'm not trying to advocate that. I'm just trying to say, love yourself. And if you love yourself, you'll do the right thing, which is taking care of yourself, right? Going to the gym, eating right, and loving yourself. I hate when people like take love yourself out of context, and it just means like doing regretful things, letting yourself go, eating nasty things every single meal, and it's like, that's not what love yourself means, man. To me, I feel like love yourself means like taking care of yourself. You might be like, yo, shut up, don't tell me what to do. Okay, whatever. Moving on to the next topic, quality versus cheap, and certain things not to go cheap on. I will, here's my little caveat. I will preface by saying this. I'm a huge fan of the Dollar Tree, 99-cent store, even Daiso. If you're lucky enough to live in an area that has Daiso, you know what I'm talking about. I love things on sale. I love discounts, okay? But when we talk about certain things not to go cheap on, right? Like deep down, I really wish I could say organic and all natural foods. But I did that and damn, it hurt my wallet because you could get an apple that's just, with pesticides all over it and it's just generic for like $1.99 a pound or something. But if you get organic, it's gonna cost you your left nipple and like 20 bucks. It's just so much more expensive. And I went through a phase where I was like, yo, I'm gonna try it out. I wanna eat clean, I wanna be healthy, I wanna feel better. And I didn't see a difference. And I did it for like 6-9 months. So I went back to just getting whatever's on sale. And that's the thing, like, if you wanna eat healthy, buy healthy, it costs so much more money. And I feel like it really does make a difference in the long term, and maybe 6 to 9 months is too short to see a tangible difference. But, like, if I had the ability, I would go all natural, all organic, if I could, but I can't, so here I am, buying whatever's on sale. But this is how I know I'm gonna say one day I made it. Like people have different gauges, indications, or goals. They're like, oh, I made it in life. When I can open the fridge, look at my dog Bernie in the face and be like, do you want a slice of an organic apple, good boy? And he goes, yes, Papa. And I give it to him. I'd be like, I made it. That's how I know when I can share a $5 apple with my doggy. And it's so interesting because like when you think about it, like that organic apple was probably grown on a farm using like all natural human feces as like fertilizer. It's like super healthy, all natural, and it's I don't know, weird to think about, but I don't know. I've also heard like, oh, that stuff is all just marketing, but I don't know. You also got to think about like, what are the harmful consequences of eating foods that have been grown with pesticides and everything in the long run? I don't know. But going back into the topic, oh my God, I'm so hungry right now. Like, I'm still doing intermittent fasting and like, okay, so here's the best way I could do it. Like, if you've ever gone running before, when you hit that wall and your body's just like, oh gosh, stop. I just hit that wall, I'm like, I need food. But what not to go cheap on. So I finally invested in a good chair and I'll model it right here. This thing right here. It was almost $200 and that's stupid, crazy money to me to even think about. And I've had this for a while, but the thing is I wanted to sit on it and see how it feels for 3 weeks before making any judgment. Because off of face value, it felt like somebody was massaging my butt cheeks, like gently. It's just so comfortable. And this is very important to know because you might be like, $200, like, yo, oh, you're crazy. No, it's just, I'm the type of guy that usually gets his chair off of Craigslist or at a thrift store for free or even for like $5. And that's how I've been living my life, okay? And it works, right? For its case and purpose. I put my ass on the chair and I can edit a video. Like, that's the purpose of my chair. But with this guy, I did something bold and I invested in a gamer chair. And you might be like, why'd you get a gamer chair? Because I feel like gamer chairs are designed specifically for people that sit for prolonged periods of time. Like, it has cushions here and here at the right spots. So I feel like they're speaking my language. And it's been game changing, right? Like, other times in my life were changing something that was a dramatic improvement was like going from carrying this bulky Walkman CD player to having a small MP3 player. I had the original Zoom back in the day. When people were getting Apple iPods, I got the Zoom instead. Or even like listening to emo punk rock and then pivoting into K-pop. Transformations, people, it happens. And at the peak of the pandemic, right, last year, I was sitting on my broken, cheap chair for like 16 hours a day between the various tasks that I had to do for work and for school. And that's when I realized, like, yo, I'm kind of sick of this cheap chair. And I get it, not everyone's gonna have the ability to go out and get like a $100 chair. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes it's all right to save up and to upgrade from that $3 chair to at least a $20 chair, and you'll see the huge improvement. And this is a lesson that I'm learning, or maybe I'm getting old and I need a stronger chair now. Maybe I can't just sit on something that's made out of like 6 toothpicks, holding me up. Maybe that's just not good enough anymore. I don't know. If I am getting old, can you see the gray hair on my head yet? I hope I don't have gray hair yet. It's not gonna be a bad thing. I'll be like an uglier Asian version of George Clooney. Salt and pepper hair. So on the topic of not to go cheap on these certain items, like when I was in the infantry, right, I learned that really quickly because as an officer, like the expectation is that we need to spend quite a lot of our, that wasn't a fart, I promise. Okay. We have to spend quite a bit of our own paycheck to buy extra equipment and accessories. Things like boots, right? I bought like a $15 pair of boots and that damn near killed my feet during a ruck march. And then I bought like this $250 pair of boots from like, I think it was called Garments, but changed the name of the game. So it's a mentality that I'm familiar with, but I went through this phase of my life for the past few years where like, money is not everything, but I don't have much of it, so I had to go cheap out of necessity. So I'm learning like, it's okay to go cheap on certain things, right? Like thumbtacks or even like Scotch tape or index cards. It's okay to go cheap on that. You don't have to get like a $20 diamond plated index card. But what you don't want to go cheap on, I feel like, from my own personal lessons the hard way, is your mattress, your shoes, and the chair that you sit on for most of the hours a day. Because you will literally spend your entire day in one or the other. You will literally be in your shoes all day while you're at work, sitting on that same chair, or you will be in your bed sleeping. That's why it's important that even if you break it down, right, this $200 chair right here versus like getting a $10 chair, if I break it down over the months, over the period of years that I'm gonna be utilizing it, it comes out to like a single digit, right? It'll be like $6-7 a month. To be comfortable, to have the back support, the lumbar support, like I think it's worth it, right? I think it's okay to have a cheap pair here and there of like cheap shoes or cheap this or that. But for your main driver, the one that you use every day for whatever it is, if possible, like go for the quality one. And if you can't, like save up for it. Do whatever it takes to save money here and there to get something of quality. And I know this sounds like so pretentious, but I'm not even trying to be like that kind of person. Like look at my background. Like, I'm not a pretentious guy. I'm just trying to say like, there's a big difference between like a $5 chair and a $200 chair. Besides the financial implications, like your body will feel different. And like, especially if you work in a manual labor job, like getting a good pair of shoes, like a good pair of New Balances, will make your feet hurt less and will allow your body to recover better than wearing a cheap pair of shoes. Like, there's like tangible benefits to this. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being stupid here and everyone else knows this and they're like, dude, how do you not know that already? But yeah, it's changing my perspective about like trying to save $1 or $2. It's just not always the right choice. Sometimes it's better to go with the higher quality one. And there's even a movement of like on Reddit that I follow. It's called Buy It for Life. There's certain items that you can get that will last you 20, 30, 40 years. Cause like if you buy something cheap, like a cheap pair of shoes and it wears down in 6 months and you have to buy another one, and you repeat that process, it actually costs you more, especially with like the health risks of like not having the right support for your feet and how it hurts your back, versus buying one quality pair of shoes that'll last you years. And that's what I'm learning, right? I had a pair of New Balances that were well over $100 that lasted me 15 years. Like, is it better to get a cheap pair of shoes for 20 bucks every 6 months, or just get a $100 pair of shoes that'll last you for 15 years? Like, if you do the cost benefit analysis over the long run, the quality wins every single time, and that's what it needs to be cheap to save money, to go with the quality one, because over the long run, you save more money. I don't know, this is weird. So let's move right along to the recommendations and the advice. So the first one is like with sleep. Okay, so I even made like a whole video dedicated to sleep, but I don't know if it's public or private. But anyways, it's a topic that I'm very interested in because I feel like sleep is so neglected. Like, we just think of it as something where we just need to do, but sleep is so much more important than that, right? It's what allows your body to recover. It's what allows you to stay healthy. It helps your hormones to stay in check. The list goes on and on. So if you can, like if your lifestyle allows you to, I know there's some people that work graveyard shifts and whatnot, so not everyone can do this, but try not to eat something really heavy or calorie dense at night. So if it's like 10 or 11 p.m., dude, just have a small snack and eat a bigger breakfast in the morning. Because like from personal experience, is the camera still rolling? Okay, it is. Cool. Whenever I heat up leftovers from dinner or eat something like super buttery popcorn at like 11 p.m., I genuinely have trouble falling asleep. And here's why. This is not science, but this is from my own observations from my own body. I think it's because your body is actively engaged and is actively digesting the food that you put into it. So your body is getting hot, and as it's getting hot, how could you get sleepy, right? Like if you lay in bed, you're gonna overheat, right? But what I've also found is that whenever I stop eating after 7 p.m., I can sleep better because it's like I gave my body the time to digest, and now 11 p.m. rolls around, it's like, all right, I'm ready to knock out. But try it out. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna go back and here, let me write a note of it. I'm gonna try to link the video I made about sleep into the description below so you can take a look at it if you want as well. And all right, so the next one. So I've been going to the gym consistently for the past week. So it's been 1 week and I'm already seeing noob gains, and it's super motivating because when you see the tangible differences, you're like, dude, it's working. Muscle memory, thank you. So a quick shout out is, not in a perverted way, but keep a track of my body, okay? And how it's gonna slowly get bigger and bigger. I want it to get to a point where eventually I'm gonna need a sports bra. Right now, I'm at a solid flat chested right now. I'm like flat Stanley. If I put on a bra, it would just, I don't know, it wouldn't work. But I want to get to a point where I could like support the ladies up here, okay? But on the reels, if you've been thinking about making a change for the better, do it today. Like if you're waiting for a sign, pop, pop, wake up. This is it, okay? There's never going to be a perfect time for self-improvement. There's never. You might be like, oh, I'll do it during my winter break or during my vacation. Stop waiting for the new year to make a resolution. Today, do it today. Okay, you just have to make time and do it. Even if that means sacrificing 20 minutes of binge watching something on the couch. Do it. Because there's never gonna be a perfect time to do it. Okay, there's always gonna be setbacks, delays, or problems happening. And you're gonna be like, oh. That's why you just gotta face the fire, take a squat, and go pee on it to put it out. Wait, quick question to you. Real talk. Does your urine make the flames explode more, like when you put gasoline into the fire? Or does it actually put it out? This is a pop quiz. So from personal experience, I can tell you that it does put it out. Don't ask me how I know. You just gotta take my word for it. So I feel like that was a pretty lengthy video, and I think I'm getting into the rhythm of things, and soon, let's go ahead and open it up for Q&A submissions, and I will figure out the logistics of how people can send me in a video so that we can, incorporate that into these videos. I think it would be super fun. I already have the next Table for Two episode all planned out. I just need to film it. So I'm really excited. I'm happy. And I wasn't sure how this change was going to be received. But hey, we got almost 700 views on the last video. And that's pretty amazing. Like, I changed the name, changed the profile picture, and people are still watching. So I'm like, all right, I love y'all. This is how I know, like, no matter what happens, I know you're going to support me. So I'm like, okay, I think I have a solid 700 or so people that's got my back, and that just gives me so much more confidence to keep going with this Table for Two, not podcast yet, but Table for Two show. So let's keep this going, and let's see how big we can grow this community at Table for Two. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope to talk to you again very soon.